Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Hinde-Taylor who's going to be reading chapter 6 of Half a King. In the last chapter, Yarvi found out a bit more about his dad's death. Apparently his dad had been on the way to sign a peace treaty to parley with the King of the Vanstermen, but he was betrayed and ambushed. Anyway, so now on to chapter 6. Chapter 6 is called Promises. It was a great affair. Many powerful families in the far reaches of Getland would be angered that news of King Uthric's death had barely reached them before he was burned, denying them the chance to have their importance noted at an event that would live so long in the memory. No doubt the all-powerful High King on his high chair in Skekenken House, not to mention the all-knowing grandmother Wexen at his elbow, would be far from delighted that they received no invitation, as Mother Gundring was keen to point out. But Yarvi's mother forced through her clenched teeth, "Their anger is dust to me." Leithin might have been queen no longer, but no other word would fit her, and Huric still hovered huge and silent at her shoulder, sworn forever to her service. Once she spoke, it was a thing already done. The procession passed from the God's Hall through the yard of the citadel, grass littered with the sites of Yarvi's many failures, under the limbs of the great cedar his brother used to mock him for being unable to climb. Yarvi went at the fore, of course, his mother overshadowing him in every sense at his shoulder, and Mother Gundring struggling to keep up behind, bent over her staff. Uncle Odin led the king's household, warriors and women in their best. Slaves came behind, collars rattling and their eyes on the ground where they belonged. Yarvi glanced up nervously as they passed through the one entrance tunnel, saw the bottom edge of the screaming gate gleam in the darkness, ready to drop and seal the citadel against any enemy. It was said to have been let fall only once, and that long before he was born, but still he swallowed, as he always did when he passed beneath it. A mountain's weight of polished copper hanging by a single pin tended to rattle the nerves, especially when you were about to burn half your family. "You're doing well," Yarvi's uncle whispered in his ear. "I am walking." "You are walking like a king." "I am a king, and I am walking. How could it be otherwise?" Odin smiled at that. "Well said, my king." Over his uncle's shoulder, Yarvi caught Isurin smiling at him too, the torch she carried setting a gleam to her eyes and the chain about her neck. Soon the key to the treasury of Getland would hang upon it, and she would be queen. His queen. And the thought gave him hope amidst his fears, like a spark in the darkness. They all carried torches, a snake of lights through the gathering gloom, though the wind had snatched out half the flames by the time the procession passed through the city's gates and onto the bare hillside. The king's own ship, the best in Thorby's crowded harbour, 20 oars upon a side and its high prow, and tail carved as finely as anything in the God's Hall, was dragged by honoured warriors to the chosen place among the dunes, keel grinding out a snaking trench in the sand. Keeled like the hull. The same ship in which King Uthric had sailed across the shattered sea on his famous raid to Sagenmark. The same ship which had wallowed low in the water with slaves and plunder when he returned in triumph. On its deck they laid the pale bodies of the king and his heir, upon a bier of fine swords. For Uthric's fame as a warrior had stood second only to his dead brother Uthil's. All Yarvi could think was how that showed great warriors die no better than any other men, and usually sooner. Rich offerings were placed about the dead in the manner the prayer weaver judged the gods would most appreciate. Weapons and armour the king had won in battle, arm rings of gold, coins of silver, treasures heaped glittering. Yarvi put a jewelled cup in his brother's fists, and his mother put a cloak of white fur over the dead king's shoulders, and placed one hand upon his chest, and stood looking down, her jaw clenched tight, until Yarvi said, "Mother?" She turned without a word and led him to the chairs on the hillside, the sea wind catching the brown grass and setting it thrashing about their feet. Yarvi squirmed for a comfortable position in that hard high seat, his mother motionless on his right with Huric a huge shadow behind her, Mother Gundring perched on a stool at his left hand, her staff clutched in one bony fist, the twisted elf metal alive with reflected flames from the rustling torches. Yarvi sat between his two mothers, one who believed in him and one who had given birth to him. Mother Gundring leaned close then and said softly, "I am sorry, my king. This is not what I wanted for you." Yarvi could show no weakness now. We must make the best of what the gods serve us, he said, even kings. Especially kings, grated out his mother and gave the signal. 24 horses were led onto the ship, hooves clattering at the timbers and slaughtered so that their blood washed the deck. All agreed death would show King Uthric and his son through the last door with respect, and they would be acknowledged great among the dead. Uncle Odin stepped out before the ranks of battle-ready warriors massed upon the sand, a torch in one hand. With his silvered mail and winged helm and red cloak snapping, he looked like a son and a brother and uncle of kings indeed. He nodded solemnly to Yarvi, and Yarvi nodded back, and he felt his mother clutch his right hand and squeeze it hard. Odin set the torch to the pitch-soaked kindling. Pitch is like a flammable substance. The flames licked about the ship, and in a moment it was all ablaze, a sorrowful moan drawn from the crowds, from the honoured and wealthy upon the high terraces before the walls of Thorby, the crafters and merchants below them, the foreigners and peasants below them, the beggars and slaves scattered in whatever crevices the wind allowed them, each person in the place the gods had reckoned proper. And Yarvi had to swallow, because he realised of a sudden that his father would never come back, and he truly would have to be king from now until he was burned himself. He sat there, cold and sickly, a drawn sword across his knees, as Father Moon showed himself and his children the stars came out, and the flames of the burning ship and the burning goods and his burning family lit up the faces of the hundred mourners. A scattered light showed in the stone buildings of the city, and the wattle hovels huddled outside the walls, and in the towers of the citadel upon the hill. His citadel, although to him it had always had the look of a prison. It took a hero struggle to stay awake. He had barely slept last night, or any night since they put the king's circle on him. That's like the crown. The shadows in the cold depths of his father's yawning bedchamber seemed crowded with fears, and by ancient tradition there was no door he could bolt, since the king of Getland is one with the land and the people must hide nothing from them. Secrets and bedroom doors were luxuries reserved for luckier folk than kings. A queue of proud men in their war gear, and proud women with keys polished, some of them sore trouble to King Uthric while he lived, filed past Yarvi and his mother to wring their hands and press gaudy grave gifts on them, and speak in swollen terms of the dead lord's high deeds. They lamented that Getland would never see his like again, then remembered themselves and bowed and mouthed, "My king," while behind their smiles no doubt they wondered how it might be made to profit them to have this one-handed weakling in the black chair. Only the occasional hiss passed between Yarvi and his mother. "Sit up, you are a king. Do not apologise, you are a king. Straighten your cloak buckle, you are a king. You are a king, you are a king," as if she was trying to convince him and herself and the world of it against all the evidence. Surely the shattered sea had never seen so cunning a merchant, but he doubted even she could sell this. They sat until the flames sank to a flickering, and the dragon-carved keel sagged into whirling embers, and the first muddy smear of dawn touched the clouds, glittering on the copper dome of the God's Hall and setting the sea-birds calling. Then his mother clapped her hands, and the slaves with clinking collar chains began to dig the earth over the still smouldering pyre, raising a great howl that would stand tall beside that of Yarvi's uncle Uthil, swallowed in a storm, and his grandfather Prever, and his great-grandfather Angulf Clovenfoot. On down the coast marched the grassy humps until they were lost among the dunes, diminished into the fog of time before she who writes entrusted women with the gift of letters, and ministers trapped the names of the dead in their high books. Then Mother Sun showed her blinding face and put fire upon the water. The tide would soon be draining, carrying with it the many ships drawn up upon the sand, sharp-tailed so they could slip away as swiftly as they arrived, ready to sweep the warriors to Vansterland to rip their vengeance from Gromgil-Gorm. Uncle Odin climbed the hill with fist firm on sword's hilt, and his easy smile traded for a warrior's frown. "It is time," he said. So Yarvi stood and stepped past his uncle and held high his borrowed sword, swallowing his fears, and roaring into the wind as loud as he could. "I, Yarvi, son of Uthik and Laithlim, king of Getland, swear an oath. I swear a sun oath and a moon oath. I swear it before she who judges and he who remembers and she who makes fast the knot, Let my brother and my father and my ancestors buried here bear witness. Let he who watches and she who writes bear witness. Let all of you bear witness. Let it be a chain upon me and a goad within me. I will be revenged upon the killers of my father and my brother. This I swear. The gathered warriors clashed the bearded heads of their axes against their helms, beaded heads, I think, and their fists against their painted shields, and their boots against Father Earth in grim approval. Yarvi's uncle frowned. That is a heavy oath, my king. I may be half a man, said Yarvi, struggling to get his sword back into its sheepskin-lined sheath, but I can swear a whole oath. The men appreciated it, at least. These are men of Getland, said Hurrick. They appreciate deeds. I thought it was a fine oath. Sirin stood near, yellow hair streaming in the wind. A kingly oath. Yarvi found he was very glad to see her there. He wished no one else had been. Then he could have kissed her again and probably made a better effort at it. But all he could do was smile and half raise his half hand in an awkward farewell. There would be time for kisses when they next met. My king? It seemed Mother Gundring's eyes, forever dry in any smoke or dust or weather, held tears. May the gods send you fine weather luck and even better weapon luck. Don't worry, my minister, he said. There's always the chance I'll survive. His true mother shed no tears. All she did was fasten his twisted cloak buckle yet again and say, Stand like a king, Yarvi. Speak like a king. Fight like a king. I am a king, he said, however much of a lie it felt, and he forced through his tightened throat, I'll make you proud, even though he had never known how. But he looked back as he walked with his uncle's gently steering hand upon his shoulder, the warriors forming snakes of glimmering steel as they filed towards the water, and he saw his mother clutch Hurrick by his mail and drag him close, strong man though he was. Watch over my son, Hurrick, he heard her say in a choking voice. He is all I have. Then the Golden Queen was gone with her guards and attendants and her many slaves towards the city, and Yarvi was striding through the colourless dawn towards the ships, their masts a swaying forest against the bruising sky, trying to walk the way his father used to, eager for the fight, even though he was weak-kneed and sore-throated and red-eyed, and his heart was crowded with doubts. He could still smell the smoke. He left Father Peace to weep among the ashes and hastened to the iron embrace of Mother War. And that's the end of that chapter. I will speak to you next time. Take care.